All right, and we are back here on the GSMC football podcast. And for the second part of the show, we will get into talking about Aaron Rodgers and his most recent comments on the Pat McAfee show. But before we get into that, breaking news. So, Daniel Jones has signed with the Minnesota Vikings. I was checking my group chat during the break, and everybody was saying skull in the chat, and I knew right away. Okay, did Daniel Jones sign with? Because Daniel Jones has been the topic of conversation in this group chat, so or one of the topics. And yeah, he indeed signed with the Vikings. I think that is a great spot for him. If Sam Darnold does end up going down, which he's gotten banged up this year, if he ended up missing a game or something, Jones could step in, and that is a great situation to be in with the supporting cast around him. And you got a great offensive mind in Kevin O'Connell. So I like that spot a lot for him. That's a good place for Daniel Jones. So I'm happy for him that he's in a good spot. And, the Vikings have a chance to do something this year, which I, didn't expect them to finish with a good record because I didn't know what to expect at the quarterback position. I constantly said how I liked the roster, but I just didn't know how it was all going to go. And Darnold has played really well this year, and he is one of the biggest reasons why they're in the spot that they're in right now. So, yeah, Daniel Jones signs with the Vikings, and he's with the contenders, so good for him. But now let's get to Aaron Rodgers, shall we? So he did make his weekly appearance on the Pat McAfee show to kind of discuss some things, talked about his future. And, there was a lot of articles and stuff that came out about, that he wants to keep playing, but just not for the Jets, and just all these different things. And he basically came out and said that a lot of it was false, which that it's not the first time that that's happened where you have these articles that come out on him and then he goes on the McAfee show and he says that they're not true. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say one way or the other. I definitely think there's some kind of middle ground here where maybe not everything is true, but maybe not everything is false. Because Rodgers talks about his inner circle and says that he only tells his small inner circle things. But then you have people that'll say, well, how do you not know? Well, how do you know that they're keeping everything tight-lipped and they're not leaking things out? I don't know. It's just one of those things where you just don't know what to believe. But he talked about how if he does indeed want to keep playing, that he would like to continue to play for the Jets. And, he did say that he's not sure on whether he wants to play or not. So that's a whole nother thing. But if he does want to keep playing, that his number one team would be the Jets. And that basically, says like, okay, that kind of contradicts what the reports were saying, that he does not want to play for the Jets. He wants to go to another team. And yeah, no, I was watching the Michael Kay show as I do at times, and they brought up how he still wants to make it work here. There's a part of them that probably still wants to make it work here, but I don't know. It's just at this point, it's the season's been a disaster, and the Jets I think are a team that needs to go in a different direction. And I don't know where Rodgers would end up. There are definitely teams out there that we went over that, maybe he can go to, but I just don't know. I don't know. Whatever they decide to do, the next GM, the next head coach that they bring in, they can make that decision on, okay, we can make it work with him, or we want to go in a different direction and draft a quarterback depending on how this season ends up. Rodgers did talk about how he feels. He feels good, a little banged up, I would imagine. I've speculated that, he's been playing hurt because, you look at how he was early on. He was moving around early on in the season. And now he's a pocket passer, but um, it's just it's been a hard year for him. And although his overall numbers are not terrible, but when you watch the games, he's missing throws. A lot of it is checkdowns. It's just it's sad because again I don't want to see him go out like this, and I sound like how I did last year when he got hurt. But this could maybe spell the end for him. But he hasn't made a final decision. But all he has said is the reports are false. He would like to continue to play for the Jets if he does want to keep playing. So we'll see. I mean, I think if the Jets get the right head coach and GM in here, and maybe, you fix the problems on the defense and I guess continue to improve the offensive line, then maybe you run it back one more time. But I don't think Jet fans want to do that. I think they want to move in a different direction. And we'll have to wait and see. But it's just been it's been a hard year for Rodgers, and might be the worst year of his career. And right now, I mean, again, he has around 2,500 yards passing, 17 touchdowns, and 7 picks. I mean, you look at that and you say, oh, yeah, the numbers aren't that bad, but the numbers don't tell the full story. So I still think he could spin it, but not on a consistent basis. So, I mean, look, I want to see him continue to play because, it's just another guy from this great era of football that we've watched that, is towards the end of his career. And there's not that many left from that era. And those guys will be gone soon as well. Matthew Stafford, Joe Flacco eventually. It's going to be sad because that was the best quarterbacking that we've ever seen is that era of the 2010s. And, Rodgers was at the forefront of that. Now, obviously, nobody has the same amount of rings as Tom Brady. He's got him beat by a long shot. But still, I mean, when you think back to that era, you think of Tom Brady, you think of Aaron Rodgers, you think of Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Ben Roethlisberger, Phillip Rivers, Matt Ryan, Eli Manning, all those guys, Stafford. That's what you think about. And I apologize if I missed anybody else, but I don't want to keep naming people. But that was our era, and it was a great era of football. And it's just it's coming to an end. We still got a few of them left, but once they're all gone, that's it. We're in the new era. And I did want to see Rodgers make it work here because there was a lot of negativity around it, and you kind of wanted to see him prove people wrong. But unfortunately, he kind of proved people right. And, maybe he does get one more chance to prove the doubters wrong because he's always had a chip on his shoulder. But maybe he kind of just feels, yeah, I'm done. And he walks away. And there's this whole debate on does it affect his legacy or not? I mean, I guess, towards the period at the end of the sentence, maybe. But he's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. He's got a Super Bowl. He's got 4 MVPs. He's got the best touchdown to interception ratio in NFL history. I mean, he has cemented his legacy. Now, he might not be regarded as the greatest quarterback of all time, but he's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Because when he was in his prime, probably the best quarterback I've ever seen, talent-wise. So, we'll see what happens, though. But now, do I think, is he going to play or not? I think it all depends on how this season finishes out. Like, if the Jets go out there and they play really well, which I don't think is going to happen, but let's say the Jets do play well. They play better. The bye week helped them. And they've had a couple of mini bye weeks, and those didn't help them. But let's just say, Rodgers having the week off, he comes out, and he plays better, finishes the season strong, the Jets, finish with a more respectable record. Because right now you would think they're not going to win another game, but maybe they finish like 7-10, like they have the last couple of years. And Rodgers, finishes with close to 30 touchdown passes. Maybe he finishes with like 10 or 11 interceptions. Passes for around 4,000 yards. I don't know. I'm just throwing random numbers out there. Then maybe you say, okay, we get the right pieces in here, the right coaching staff, the right GM, and we try again. And maybe he feels like, you know what? I finished the season strong. I want to give it another go. But I think if you end up finishing this year where, it's losses similar to, well, the Jets have lost different ways. I mean, they've gotten blown out. They've lost close games. They've lost games where the offense will extend the lead or put them ahead, and then the defense will let the other team go right down the field and score the game-winning touchdown or the go-ahead touchdown. And they finish, 4-13 or 5-12. Then I don't know. And Rodgers doesn't play well and gets banged up, then maybe he does call it. I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to pretend like I know. It's more of just predicting. I'm going to lean towards... I'm actually going to say that he will try to give it another go. Unless he gets really hurt. I'll say he gives it another go. Maybe it's not with the Jets. Maybe it's with another team. But I'm going to say he gives it one more shot. And then that's it. But who knows? We still got a little over a month left in the regular season. The Jets are still not mathematically out of it yet. So, we'll see what happens. They'll be playing the Seahawks this week. But, Rodgers has not confirmed anything. Has not confirmed that those reports were true. In fact, he said the opposite, that he wants to stay with the Jets if he does continue to play. So we'll see how it goes. But let me know what you guys think, though, about the Aaron Rodgers situation. Do you think he retires? Do you think he stays with the Jets and plays another year? Does he go to another team and plays somewhere else? Let me know in the comments. So before we go to break, just want to remind you guys once again, to tip or donate and get your comments recognized, make sure to hit that super chat button in the chat if you want to see me acknowledge any thought or comment throughout the live broadcast. Makes the show more lively, more entertaining between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. We appreciate you guys' viewership each and every day, so any contribution you can make to the show means the world to us as we put out content for you guys each and every day. And also, the other way to help out the show is by going to the link at the bottom of the show segment on the ticker, GSMCPodcast.net. That is GSMCPodcast.net. So when we come back from our next break, we will take a look at the Ravens-Eagles matchup. Big matchup coming up on Sunday, and we will talk about that when we return from our next break. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.